Chapter 7. Shadows of Emmaus. Themriel had stood watch over the traitor, Glarius, and Ben Magi for another day before Glarius's feet were healed enough to travel. Then Ben stored most of his belongings in the rocky crevices nearby and packed the rest in a leather satchel he wore on his back. Suddenly, Michael's voice penetrated his thoughts. "I have reports of a massive force of demons moving inland from the beach where you found Glarius. You will need to use your shield's power to shield him from being seen by them." His heart burned as he responded, "How much longer must I protect this defector?" "Until you are given new orders." Once the link with Michael ended, Themriel looked to the western horizon, which was lit up by the noonday sun. With his vision attuned to detect spiritual threats, he could see a thick shadow rolling over the landscape like black waves. When the waves of blackness were close enough, Themriel could see they weren't benign clouds, but dozens of demons flying towards them. They were flying low and slow in an obvious attempt to search every rock and weed for the man he had been forced to protect. Themriel lifted his shield up over his head. Once the swarm of evil spirits infested the entire mountainside near the camp, 2 demons moved in close to where Themriel hid Glarius and Ben Magi. "Didn't you see 2 men camped here only moments ago?" a gnarled demon scout snarled. "I'm sure of it, and one of them glowed just like Geraboth told Desecrus he would," another demon responded. The first demon looked around the empty camp. "Doesn't appear to be anyone here now. When we return to Desecrus, I will recommend that your eyes be replaced." After the second demon scowled at the first one for a few seconds, they both inspected the abandoned campsite. "The fire is still smouldering, which means someone was here recently." The pair of evil spirits used their amulets to call their commander to the camp. This demon bore few scars and resembled Desecrus in form and demeanor. He flew from the opposite side of the mountain and landed a few feet from where Themriel still held up his shield as protection. His shield showered the area where Glarius lay, with a powerful field of energy to keep demonic eyes from seeing the man. "Who is this?" The commanding demon pointed at Ben Magi. "I will inquire of Desecrus on your behalf, Horrify and Screech. He can replace your heads when we return." Themriel moved his right hand to the hilt of his sword. He could take all 3 of them out in 2 swipes, but held back. He didn't want to alert the rest of the scourge. This would cause too much unwanted attention. "I was certain this man had a companion, one that glowed with the celestial aura," the first demon named Horrify said. Screech chimed in. "Well, I know this man." He pointed to Ben as the man packed his belongings. "He is a follower of the Baptizer." The commanding demon moved his fist close to his chest to silence the other 2. "We do not have time to waste on this man. Come, we must find the fallen one before this day ends, or we will all be sent to the pits." Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Ben looked around the camp he had called home for the past 2 years with a mixture of sadness and excitement. For him, this place held great memories of spiritual awakening, an experience which changed his life, and leaving it felt final, like he would never come back. But something about leaving with the mysterious man seemed to be the greater purpose he had been preparing for. He walked over to his new companion, who still laid in his blankets. "Come, my friend, it's time to get up. Let me have a look at your feet." His new friend rolled over on his back and stuck his feet from under of the blankets. He took the left foot in his hand, and to his amazement, there was not a trace of injury from toes to heel. The right foot was the same. Remarkable. I have never seen such a quick recovery. "Well, it's time to put your sandals on. We are leaving for the home of my parents in Lydda." Then Ben's heart began to pump so hard it felt like it would burst from his chest. He blinked his eyes rapidly, but the more he did it, the more a dark fog seemed to envelop the mountainside. Just as quickly as the terrifying sensations began, the darkness lifted and Ben could breathe again. "Are you all right?" he asked the man as the latter stared back at him with wide eyes. His friend nodded. "What was that?" "I don't know," Ben answered. "Let's hurry up and leave here. I sense I am no longer welcome in my home. After rolling up the man's blankets and securing them on his back, Ben patted his shoulder. Do you remember your name yet? No. I must call you something other than you or friend. Since you came to me nameless, I will call you Almani. It is a word from my native tongue which means nameless. Then the pair left the mountainside and hiked up and down the harsh terrain until the sun rose and set once. With one day of hiking, walking, and traipsing through arid terrain, Ben found himself weak from the constant pace. It had been several months since he had travelled back to the home of his parents, yet instinctively he knew the town of Lydda would be visible in a couple of days at the most. His fatigue gave him reason to stop. Almani, please stop. When Ben's new friend ceased walking, he felt startled when the man he nursed back to health stood before him unscathed. How is it you stand before me with all of your stamina and strength? Ben asked. The look on Almani's face told Ben his friend did not understand the question, so he left it unanswered. Never mind, my friend. Let me catch my breath, then we can continue. Once a semblance of energy returned to Ben, he stood up. Almani sat upright and alert. Let's resume our journey, Ben Margie said. My father and mother will show us a warm welcome. He had been absent from his family for longer than expected, and he didn't know what to think, feel, or expect. Many winters had passed since he had heard the life-changing words of the man known as John the Baptist. He was so young, maybe 5 or 6 years old, yet he could remember every syllable the wild man uttered. From that day on, he had a singular focus, one of total dedication to the true and living God. Once he reached the age of 13, he prepared his heart and mind to leave his parents' home. He left everything behind, abstained from alcohol, and never shaved or cut his hair. These vows made Ben Margie one of a select and ancient Jewish sect known as Nazarites. The pinnacle of this sect was John the Baptist. John preached to all classes of Judean society with power and authority. The purity of his words and the fervor of his message compelled thousands to change the direction of their lives. Ben was one of the most radical of these followers, and now, after 2 years of isolation, Ben Margie, the reclusive Nazarite, felt compelled to leave his long isolation and help a man he hardly knew. Soon, clouds overtook the sky, filling what had been sapphire emptiness with coal-coloured wool. At first, intermittent drops hit Ben's face, arms and shoulders. Then, the sporadic drops became more persistent and consistent. He looked to see his new friend reacting strangely to the precipitation. It's rain. It won't hurt you. Rain? Rain is when God waters the earth to give us sustenance. It is good. Ben reassured the confused man. How could anyone not know of rain? He thought. Just as the words left his mouth, the deluge intensified. Every step Ben took became more strained as his weight caused his feet to sink into the mushy dirt road. After several minutes of downpour, he and his friend stopped in their tracks. We must find shelter from this rain, Ben yelled. Look, over there. He pointed to rocky hills nearby. Once near the hills, Ben urged his companion towards an area where some large boulders formed a broad protrusion. The floor of the shallow cave sloped just so that the water flowed away from the entrance and left the floor dry. They huddled inside to wait out the rain. After setting down their blankets and provisions, Ben and the fallen one lay out the blankets and soon fell fast asleep. Soldiers, halt! A male voice cracked Ben's veil of unconsciousness. For the next few moments, his head swam between the dark tides of sleep and the audible intrusion. Then he heard sounds of clanking metal, the heavy stepping of many feet on the ground, and the same voice barking out commands. Ben recognized the Latin tongue of the accursed Romans. The rain was lighter than before, a smattering of small droplets intermittently hastened by surging gusts of swirling winds. These gusts made it hard for Ben to discern where the sounds were coming from. It's best to stay put and hopefully go undetected until the Roman soldiers move on. Ben looked around until his eyes locked onto his nameless friend, who was sleeping, undisturbed by the loud commands. The man was moving his lips and grunting at first, Then he started talking. "Sleepers awake, sleepers awake," came the words first in a whisper, then growing louder. At first, Ben almost laughed at the irony of his friend's words, but as Almoni became louder, Ben rolled closer to his companion and cupped his hand over the man's mouth. Startled awake, Almoni reflexively raised his arms. Came the garbled sounds of his attempt to speak. "Shh, listen." As if on cue, several voices rose over the rain. "The men you hear are Romans. We do not want them to find us." Ben looked into the wide eyes of his friend, who nodded, so Ben released his grip from his mouth. "What are Romans? What will they do to us if they find us?" Almoni asked. "Romans are God's final judgment against us, the children of Israel. They are evil killers who put people on wooden crosses and impale them with nails. Romans do not show mercy to anyone." Ben's jaw tightened as he spoke. "We will stay here until they leave. The good news for us is that their commander is speaking in Aramaic instead of Roman. I am not sure why, but at least we do not need to guess what he is saying." He commanded his soldiers to rest until the rain ceases. Much later in the day, the precipitation ceased, making it easy to hear the Roman movements. Soon, a voice boomed over the other sounds. "Do not get too comfortable. We will be leaving soon to go to Lydda. There have been numerous reports of followers of this Jesus stirring up insurrection. We must quell this rebellion." Ben's heart sank. They couldn't go to Lydda now. Wherever Romans went, devastation and torment followed. If only he could warn his family. He thought of the towns to the north, and a sense of relief washed over him. The town of Emmaus is where his oldest sister, Sarai, moved with her husband before Ben left Lydda. They would go there. Perhaps she could shelter them long enough for them to figure out how to find his brother Levi. As Ben quietly began to pack up his meager belongings, he found his friend's sandals still on Almoni's feet. He gasped when he noticed the footwear looked unused. "I guess I didn't need to draw the symbols. Your sandals look as if they haven't been worn." Another mystery about you unfolds. You have sandals that appear to be indestructible. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Themriel grew more restless with each moment he had to be near the traitor. Aside from his strong sense of duty, the only thing stopping him from killing Glarius was the presence of Ben. Themriel admired this kind, young and dedicated man who seemed to have formed a bond with Glarius. It sounded like the soldiers were moving away from where Ben and the traitor were, so Themriel flew upward to investigate. Moving northward were long lines of Roman soldiers. The centurion, dressed in shiny armor, bellowed commands. "Move quickly or face my whip. You may be citizens of Rome, but you are under my command. I will not tolerate any weakness." As Themriel observed the company of Romans prepare to leave, a slight tremor of cold, icy alarm kissed his cheeks. Something dangerous lurked nearby. He scanned the Roman encampment for any signs of demonic activity, but at first he did not see anything that could have caused the sensation he just felt. Then he changed his field of vision to ultraviolet, and suddenly he was overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the demonic activity. Hovering above the military were 36 ravenous falcon-faced demons. In tandem, pairs of the long, thick-flying demons dove from high above the Roman encampment, spiraling into the tightly closed ranks. As they crested amongst the soldiers, each demon screamed of the bloody terrors they would bring to each Roman. This became a continuous cycle of hellish relentlessness until the ranks of the Romans were entirely affected by the onslaught. Some of the soldiers began to grimace like wolves preparing to bite the throbbing neck of their prey, while others seemed to cower as if they were the prey. Themriel ensured the demonic horde couldn't see him before moving closer. From his vantage point, he listened and watched. He had to make sure they weren't leading the army in the direction of his charges. He wanted to attack, but these hellspawn were of a virulent group of tormentors he hadn't faced yet. Several minutes later, he hurried back to where Ben and Glarius had hidden from the rain. They were anxiously listening for signs of the Roman legion's departure. "Listen," Ben said. "I don't hear anything." Almoni responded. Ben's youthful exuberance shone brightly on this overcast day. His words were uttered without a care in the world, even though he had seemed truly scared of the Romans only hours before. "That is the point, Almoni. It sounds like the Romans have left. Come, let's go to Emmaus." After a long day of traipsing through the rocky, arid wilderness, the two men were on the outskirts of Emmaus. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows on the modest dwellings of a remote Judean town. For the angel watching them, shadows meant hiding places, and hiding places meant demons. Themriel had flown slightly ahead of the pair of men he guarded to see if the town posed any threats to his charges. He glanced long and hard at the silent silhouettes shrouding the town until he caught sight of something in the darkness. Three small figures moved in the shadows. The mighty angelic warrior cloaked his appearance, so the trio of demons was emboldened to come entirely out of hiding. He watched their every move. "Is it safe?" A small, child-faced spirit crawled out into the last specks of sunlight. The cherubic face could deceive many into a sense of safety, yet Themriel recognized this imp for what it was, a harassing spirit straight from the pits of hell. "I do not know," a second demon said, still cowering in the dark. This insipid demon resembled a virulent insect with 6 legs and mandible-like protrusions coming from a deeply misshapen lower jaw. "Since the disciples of the One began teaching here, it's never been safe for our kind to remain in large numbers." A third demon, shaped like a wingless bat, strutted out of the darkness. "Why are we here then? Surely we could serve our master's intentions better in a city with a more pagan persuasion." The insect-shaped spirit grimaced. "You are always cowering whenever a few of these followers of Christ are around. For the first time in months, most of the followers of Jesus have left Emmaus, and with them, the angels protecting them. This is an opportunity for us to plant seeds of temptation." With its cherub face grinning, the first demon interjected, "You're right. I heard one of the commanders say they were going to Lydda to quell an uprising of believers. That must be why the disciples left. These followers of Jesus seem to know more about our domain than they should. Ever since the One defeated death and rose from the dead, our domain is vulnerable," the third one replied. This peculiar demon now manifested in a polluted cloud of acrid vapor, which coalesced into different shapes each time it moved. "That is why we are better off here. With the believers gone, we can harass the populace without any angelic interference." The insect-like demon responded, "It will be nice to tempt these fools. At least some of them who remain are not followers of the Jewish carpenter." Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Once the outlines of Emmaus came into view, Ben sighed. His entire body screamed for rest while his stomach rumbled. They had eaten the last of his provisions at the previous night's meal, which made the final leg of the journey a mind-numbing exercise in self-control. He glanced at Almoni. "Aren't you tired?" Almoni's light brown eyes squinted as if the question confused him. "It would be nice to sit for a time." This brought a hearty laugh from Ben. "You amaze me, my friend. Only a couple of days ago you could hardly walk. Now you are the model of strength and stamina." The town of Emmaus bore little resemblance to its neighbouring counterparts. Where thriving communities like Lydda and Joppa were starting to see expansion and innovation from Roman influence, Emmaus remained untouched by the advances of time. A collection of small houses, shelters, and animal pens surrounded a small village square where merchants and vendors would set up shop to peddle their wares. Yet for Ben Marji, Emmaus might as well have been Jerusalem after being in the wilderness most of the past 2 years. He did not know how to act around so many people. But there was one thing he had missed about civilization: the smells of several foods being cooked. This caused his body to protest his lack of nutrients. He patted Almoni on the shoulder. "I have not been to this village before, so I am not certain of our welcome. Hopefully, my sister still lives here, and she has some food to spare." "I hope so too, Ben. I am hungry and tired," Almoni said. After walking past a few large stone buildings with children playing and a few women hanging wet clothes on lines of rope, Ben stopped. He had never been to his sister's home in Emmaus or anywhere else in this area, so he looked for someone with a friendly face. He could see an older woman struggling to carry a large clay jar of water, so he offered to help. She smiled at him. "I am fine, my young friend. I may be old, but not so old that I need help with my water pot. You are new to Emmaus. Come, you and your friend, follow me home. I will give you some food." He felt a little embarrassed, but managed to say, "I am Ben Margie of Lydda. I am looking for my sister, Sarai. She married a man from this town whose name is... I cannot remember. Do you know where they live?" The woman stopped walking and stared at Ben for a moment before saying, "You are a relation to Sarai?" Ben nodded. "Praise be the Lord. I know her very well. Come, I will take you to her home." Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Themriel's attentive eyes went from Ben Margie and the traitor to the three demons who were venturing out of what seemed to be a long period of hiding. He did not know why he could not see any other angels in the city. Surely there were enough faithful followers of God in the village to warrant a few guardians. He decided to observe the demons for a time, since the old woman seemed kind and appeared to be a follower of God. With the cloaking attributes of his shield engaged, he glided down from his perch atop a sycamore tree and landed near the three harassing spirits. The one shaped like a vapor of smoke changed back into a wingless bat, looked around nervously. "I feel like we are being watched." "I do too. Perhaps we should go back to our hiding place and wait for night to rain the sky," the insect-like demon said with a shudder. "I smell too much angelic residue in this place. It needs a thorough possession to be rid of their stench." A sound pierced the air around them, and Themriel could see their amulets glowing with a reddish hue. A voice he did not recognize crackled from their pendants. "This is Geraboth to all slaves of Satan, from Ashdod to Bethlehem. Be on the lookout for a man who radiates with the celestial aura. He is a fallen angel who needs to be brought to me, so our master's claim can be exercised." After the last word, the amulets fell silent and colourless on the chests of the three. Themriel pondered this transmission. Should I point the traitor out to these three insignificant slaves of the pits? All of this could come to an end, and I could get back to serving God in battle. How could the Lord be so merciful to someone with Glarius's knowledge of the heavens? Why not let Satan's claim be exercised immediately? He lowered his head and prayed for understanding. Reluctantly, Themriel used his telepathic abilities to connect with Michael. "My holy commander, I bring news to you regarding my assignment." Michael's essence permeated his thoughts. "Yes, Themriel. What news do you bring?" "An alert has gone out to all demons in the region about the traitor Glarius. They are seeking a man with the celestial aura. What are your orders?" It took Michael a moment to respond. If Glarius is wearing his sandals, the demons will not perceive his celestial aura and thus will not know of his origins. Your orders have not changed. Stay with him and protect him. Themriel didn't understand. Do we know when God will pass judgment on Glarius? Flaming white heat erupted in his mind, so profoundly that he doubled over. Michael said, "Is it up to you, Themriel, to decide when or if God passes judgment on our brother? Do we know everything there is about what caused Glarius to fall? Remember your station and commit to serving God. All else will be revealed in the fullness of time." The pressure and heat from Michael's response subsided. "I apologize, dear brother. I am just anxious to see God's will be done. You will see his glory shining upon you if you stay true to his command." Michael's voice softened. "Did Glarius or his new companion notice the inscriptions on his sandals?" "They did, but neither Glarius nor Ben knew what the inscriptions were. Ben spoke of his brother Levi, a scribe who may be able to help them understand the writing. Also, Glarius does not remember his name, nor that he is of angelic descent." Michael said, "It would be good for Glarius's memories to return, but at least he seeks to understand the Enochian inscriptions. Perhaps if he remembers who he is, he will explain what he's doing in his current state. Themriel still didn't understand. What is the significance of the inscriptions? I only know that God provided him the sandals. The contents of the inscriptions are for him to find out once he can read them. Until that time, your orders are to stay near him, and if he takes his sandals off, use your shield to keep him hidden from all who hunt him. What shall I do about the demons in this town? Michael's answer came quickly. Do with them as you did with the assassins on the beach near Joppa. Send them back to the pits. Once the transmission ended, Themriel fumed for a moment. So much effort to protect one traitor. Then a moment of clarity came to the frustrated angel. God is always just.